The Araucanian Wars, also known as the Arauco War or Guerra de Arauco, were a series of conflicts between the Spanish Empire and the indigenous Mapuche people of Chile, specifically the Araucanian region. These wars occurred from 1541 to 1558 and were characterized by fierce resistance from the Mapuche against Spanish colonization efforts. Spanish conquest. Following the arrival of Spanish conquistadors in Chile in the 16th century, efforts were made to subjugate and colonize the indigenous peoples of the region. However, the Mapuche fiercely resisted Spanish encroachment on their lands and way of life. Pedro de Valdivia, a Spanish conquistador who led the initial Spanish expeditions into Chile and established settlements such as Santiago and Concepcion. Caupolicán, a prominent Mapuche leader who played a key role in organizing resistance against the Spanish invaders. Lautaro, a Mapuche warrior who rose to prominence during the Araucanian Wars and became a symbol of indigenous resistance. Battle of Curalaba, 1598. One of the most significant events of the Araucanian Wars was the Battle of Curalaba in 1598. Mapuche forces, led by Caupolicán and Lautaro, launched a surprise attack on the Spanish settlement of Concepcion, resulting in a devastating defeat for the Spanish and the death of Pedro de Valdivia. Mapuche resistance. Despite initial Spanish successes in establishing settlements and gaining control over territory, the Mapuche continued to resist Spanish colonization efforts through guerrilla warfare tactics and strategic alliances among different indigenous groups. Spanish expansion and retreat. The Araucanian Wars were marked by periods of Spanish expansion into Mapuche territory, followed by periods of retreat and consolidation in the face of Mapuche resistance. The rugged terrain of the Araucanian region, coupled with Mapuche knowledge of the land and effective military tactics, posed significant challenges for Spanish forces. Indigenous autonomy. The Araucanian Wars ultimately resulted in the establishment of a semi-autonomous Mapuche territory known as the Araucania in southern Chile. Despite Spanish attempts to subdue them, the Mapuche maintained their cultural identity and autonomy. End of open conflict. While the Araucanian Wars formally ended in 1558 with the Peace of Coquin, sporadic conflicts between the Spanish and the Mapuche continued for centuries, with the Mapuche successfully resisting Spanish domination well into the 19th century. Legacy. The Araucanian Wars have had a lasting impact on Chilean history and culture, shaping attitudes towards indigenous rights, land ownership, and national identity. The Mapuche resistance against Spanish colonization remains an important part of Chile's historical narrative.